Our story begins with a big city entrance gate. Weather was beautiful and the white city gate with his spotless whiteness. At the entrance a small group of a guard were identifying every visitor. Guard of the gate held a small badge which confirmed the identity of Russell Raymond. The guard looked up in distrust, as the badge belongs to the aristocrat family, one of the founding families. As Russell has red eyes and black hair, his clothing was worn out, his face was covered with mud. As a laborer, he observes dirty clothing on his Russell body as well as dirty hands with the bandage on the wrist, making them wonder why a member from a founding family will be such unpleasant clothing. Despite Russell's shady and unkempt appearance, the guard nevertheless accepts that the person is real Russell Raymond and allowed him entering in the city. The partner of the guard asked him that do you knows him, to which the partner replies that he is from the Raymond family, one of the founding families. By observing his choice of dress and appearance, they ponder if he truly represents an aristocratic lineage. Does the founding family's prestige hold less influence than presumed? The guards who verified the identity anxious, and there's talk going around at the White Tower is actively recruiting mercenaries, and that might be the reason for Russell's arrival in the city. However, both guards could not believe a person who belongs to an aristocrat is seeking for a job as a mercenary, which is more likely a pleasant job to do. Russell displays remarkable concentration. Russell glims here and there as he overheard the conversation of both guards, condemned for talking in such a manner. The sun was shining as Russell entered the city and looked down to the capital city of Camelot by standing on a rock wall edge. He observed a lot of ancient buildings along with two giant towers. He moved forward by passing through the city crowd. Looked steadily on one of the tallest towers of the city, also known as a magic tower, the headquarters of the Kingdom Guardians. The tower's majestic presence reminds him of all the efforts he put in just to get in the tower to prevent his family's downfall. His father passed away in the war against the Empire on the unforgiving expanse of the battlefield, flooded with weapons, blood and fragments of bodies. He met his end through a stealthy, fatal strike from behind by another soldier's deep stab. Russell had to flee the castle, leaving behind his mother and all the people. Later, in order to regain his influence and territory, he had to join the magic tower with a lot of unwillingness and glistening tears in his eyes. Russell had to leave her mother with only a ring-shaped pendant swinging from his neck, yet it all seems like an unachievable dream. He was expelled from the academy before even entering the magical tower. During the entrance process he was standing in the middle of an assembly hall facing three judges sitting on an elevated platform-like chair facing in three different directions, passing judgment upon him. They called out his name, Russell Raymond. With lacking self-confidence, Russell stands with his face downwards, heavily sweating and fluttering in nervousness. One of the old dignitaries explained that he had received a 3 failing grade, an unprecedented event in the history of the academy. The old man gazed at Russell with sympathy and a disappointed expression. He commended Russell for this theoretical knowledge, though censure for not being able to reach even on level 2 magic circle. Another dignitary suggested he should pursue another path in life, as it will be difficult for him to be a mage due to its narrow mana veins. Upon hearing this, that he will be expelled from the academy, Russell clenched his chest with disappointment. Moreover, he was always aware that he was born with thin and weak mana veins that can retain a limited amount of mana, lacking the ability to properly channel or release it. Such conditions is the biggest nightmare for any mage. While sitting in the crowd holding his back to the wall on the street of Camelot, he pondered how he manages to obtain the 2nd level magic circle, while working as a mercenary fighting countless battles. Still, even though he achieved that, he is a 3rd grade mage. He looked down at his own hands with deep regret. The tower door opens with a foot emerging with a voice that today's registration for temporary jobs has been already filled up for today. He requested those who are willing to work can visit tomorrow. Some of the people were angry as they have been there for the whole day just to secure a job, showing their frustration, while others accepted the fact there is nothing that can be done. With a wry smile, Russell remarked, as the saying goes, beggars can't be choosers. while remaining silent and composed. Around the corner Russell overheard the yellow hair man suggesting to give it a try at the museum as they are looking for temporary mages. Discontent another man such there are only seeking first-grade circle mages for cleaning purposes, he clearly would never do such a task which will bring him shame. As day transitioned to night, the sun embarked on its gradual dip beneath the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the tower. Russell looked up at the setting sun, contemplating about it. After experiencing a setback in life, he slides his hand into his pocket and received a small packet with a golden coin, releasing the need for money, and he had no choice. He decided to give the museum job a try. He reached the museum, also known as the Great Museum of Louvre. Russell with two other men making their way through the hallway. Curator explained that they are the biggest museum in the kingdom. The museum was filled with ancient artifacts with shield swords and paintings. Furthermore, they are expecting an aristocratic visit in the coming week. That's why the entire place needs to be crystal clear. Russell noticed the curator is also processed high-level master in magic. This reminded him of his failure, showing disappointment in himself. The curator explained that they should be mindful while using wind magic while cleaning. He also stressed the inevitability of facing subsequent outcomes for damaging any artifacts. However, Russell identified all the artifacts are sheer copies of the original, and the curator exaggerated the staging significantly. While the group continued the way through the hallway, Russell noticed a room that seems familiar to him. It was a room of fantastical species. Russell took a moment to transcribe. Russell felt a sense of vibration in his left pocket. Confound! Russell reaches his pocket with shaking hands, and take a ring out of his pocket. Russell stared at the ring which belongs to his mother. He glanced at the door, his mind mesmerized, his legs start moving on his own while other moved away. It all seems like fate moving him while others call his name in search. Russell ends up standing in front of the giant dragon skeleton holding a ring in his hand. The ring starts vibrating in his hand. Russell thinks that ring might want to convey a message from his mother. He closed his eyes and focused his mind, recalling his mother hanging around in the same room holding his mother's hands with a joyful face. Suddenly he noticed something in the back, pointed in the direction of a narrow passage. All of a sudden Russell opened his eyes and moved precisely toward the corner. There is a small display of heart-like artifacts known as the ancient dragon heart. Russell moved and gazed at his ring, realizing that rings want to display something like the dragon heart and the ring both are somehow connected. Curiously, Russell feels like the ring is making a crying sound. He wore the ring on his index finger as the ring brought him to this path. The moment he placed the ring in his finger, it stopped vibrating. Dragon hearts and dragon skeletons begin to react. After examining the ring closely, his mind filled with thoughts, his eyes gazing down ungrasped. Ring released a mysterious magic, lighting a voice raised stating the heart and I finally meet. The golden wings unfold, a voice emerges from the opening of another eye, and a golden dragon appeared. The golden dragon looked at Russell and told him, you have enough potential to serve as a cornerstone in the creation of a new legend. Russell stared at the dragon with mystified eyes. Dragon granted Russell another chance to preserve the legend. With that, Russell realized the wheel of the world had been broken and his long-awaited fate has come to its begging. Dragon starts collecting information about this world. The status window and mission for Raziel Raymond are being activated. Several times someone called out Raymond, Russell's family name. Gradually sound become a noise. However, Russell was able to recognize the voice and a blurred image pops up in his mind. Russell's teacher made his way to his sheet. Russell's skill in a deep sleep. In the background his classmate was excited. What is supposed to happen? Russell's teacher struck a book on his head and he woke up in a flurry. Causing him to say yes unknowingly made him stand up in a hurry. His energy was angry and annoyed as he know Russell's grade are very good. Still sleeping in the middle of class is not acceptable, which made him upset. Although Russell was still unable to grasp the situation filled with all the confusion. Soon Russell remained the figure of a person as the Professor Hubert. A feeling of astonishment washes over Russell's head as he remembers the professor has long passed away. Russell's classmate looks confused and unable to understand what happened to Russell. Russell quickly glanced to the left side as he saw his classmate were laughing at him. Russell stunned gazed down at his hand and clutched his face, unable to grasp the situation, starts trembling. Finally, he slammed his hands on the table and realized that he had come back to his past. After seeing Russell's reaction, other classmates begin to mock him. Outside of the classroom window, the sun was shining, and light illuminating the green color of the leaf on the glass window. Light was coming in through the window, illuminating the classroom. Russell was still not understanding anything. He lowered his head and realized he had traveled back to life. Russell turned his head and looked at his teacher. The professor, however, couldn't discern Russell's reaction. The professor was visibly annoyed, yet he couldn't shake the sense that Russell was acting out of character. Nonetheless, he believed that some form of punishment was still warranted. The professor instructed him to leave the classroom. Outside the classroom, Russell took a few steps, still grappling with the concept of time travel. His mind churned, questioning whether the existence of time travel magic was indeed real and whether it was meant to be categorized as magical. Russell reminisced about his past as a dragon emerged before him, speaking of a second opportunity for great legends. Russell recollected his ring, adorned with a dragon eye, which had vanished. Now, he found himself granted another chance to reshape his destiny as a mage. He pondered whether his mother might be behind this, considering the ring's association with her. The classroom door swung open, and the professor emerged, casting a peculiar glance at Russell, making it clear that sleep is not accepted anyhow. Russell immediately apologized for his action. Professor suggested having a private conversation during lunch break time in his office, quickly accepted by Russell. The professor left him behind, stating that he would be waiting for him. Russell felt a sense of nostalgia, as it had been a long time since he had been involved in any minor trouble like this. The professor departed, leaving Russell standing at the back of the classroom. Immediately after that, someone poked Russell from behind, causing him to react. Startled, Russell blurted out, "What kind of shoddy?" It turned out to be 3 older major students. They asked Russell did they heard him calling shoddy to them. One of the students eagerly raised his hand to punish him, and another member of the bullying team holds his hand and pointed out that the professor is still watching and they couldn't punish him right now. The man with yellow hair glanced at Russell and remarked that he had probably asked him to take notes, but he had been occupied with sleep. Russell recognizes the man as Coma Frederick. With an uneasy expression, Frederick conveyed that if Russell wished to evade peril, he ought to trail him to the bathroom. He then headed to their room, leaving Russell behind. Russell stood unfazed with a faint smile. Russell looked shocked as a small system-like display emerged in front of him. He puzzled, raises his hand to check if it's all an illusion and if he is imagining things. Shocked Russell looking at the screen steadily. Coma looked back and called out Russell's name, asking if isn't gonna follow him. He reminded him there is no use in running as they will still catch him in the academy. Coma's expression changed to his devil smile. Mocking him if it will give him serious pain if he guts to try. Russell's expression has changed to brutal, determined, and fearless. Russell accepted the offer. Setting the mission aside, his focus shifted to imparting a lesson to the group of bullies. He looked at the bullying group with anger. In his previous life working as a mercenary for ages, he encounters countless intents compared to the bloodthirsty monster, and these people are mere prey by comparison. In the bathroom, Coma, standing as a leader of the bullying group, stood in the middle beside his 2 fellow classmates, posing like an old movie villain, holding an ignite pipe in his hand emitting smoke. Mocking Russell. Russell also mocked Coma that he has not just come and he is also ready to encounter Coma and his 2 friends. As Russell moved confidently, the bully was unable to believe and still underestimated Russell. Russell moved straight toward the blonde-hair bully, who also encounters Russell outside the classroom, now face to face. With a furious expression and clenched fist, the blonde-haired bully lunged at Russell, who adeptly sidestepped the attack, catching the bully off guard. Their eyes locked in surprise as Russell swiftly repositioned himself and delivered a powerful blow to the bully's abdomen, leaving him momentarily stunned. Witnessing this, another man, consumed by anger, impulsively charged forward, only to be met with a direct, forceful punch to the face that left his visage red and sent him sprawling alongside Koma. Yet, Koma remained unperturbed, still standing with a smoking pipe in hand. With a malicious grin, he taunted Russell for his inability to wield any magic, instead resorting to what he deemed as inferior martial arts tactics. He tossed his smoke pipe, claiming he didn't expect much from a member of a fallen family. Russell kept silent upon hearing his family name. Koma positioned a green knuckle-buster-like magical artifact on his right-hand finger. His sinister grin grew even wider, knowing well that the use of magic was forbidden within the academy's walls, except for small magical artifacts. Rushed towards Russell, not in a bullying manner, but with deadly intent, launching a straight punch. Russell initially didn't move a bit, letting Koma come closer. Before it reaches Russell, he raised a hand, catching Koma's blow halfway. Oma's hand trembled against the opposing force exerted by Russell. Russell didn't hesitate, he shifty twisted Koma's hand while calling out his name angrily. Koma screams out loud in pain, kneel down on the floor while Russell maintains his grip. Russell taunted Koma for being inferior to his brothers and openly derided him as a moron. In the eyes of his own family, he pointedly highlighted Koma's shift in demeanor, observing how he turned submissive in the face of a formidable opponent, yet displayed a bullying attitude when confronted with a weaker adversary. Filled with anger, Russell's eyes changed from a rad cheery color to yellow with a sharp cornea. Like dragon with a frightful expression, questioned how he dared to call his family name. Koma looks fearful, not comprehending what was happening. Russell clinches his fist-tight punch on Koma's face as a final blow. After the brutal confrontation that had nearly escalated to a fatal outcome, as Russell exited the bathroom with his newly awakened yellow dragon eye still ablaze, he turned his back on the scene, hoping that the bullies would learn their lesson. The bathroom lay in ruins, tiles shattered, and 3 bullies sprawled unconscious on the floor, serving as a stark reminder for them to behave if they valued their lives. Departing the scene with legs trembling, he found refuge in a corner, slumping against the wall. He clenched his hand into the floor, lost in contemplation, feeling the weight of overexertion. His eyes were weary, a sense of surprise coursing through him as another system window materialized before his eyes. It presented an item, lowest-grade magic stone. The stone was meant to be consumed, a consumable signifying the system's intent for Russell to utilize it. It looked at the stone carefully, pondering himself. His system wanted him to eat a mere rock, as not even the barbarians would not eat rocks. Screen pops up in the middle of the air stating me to use the stone. Hesitate. Russell opened his mouth instead to eat all at once. A notification popped up about the low-grade mana stone being consumed with Russell. As Russell consumed the stone, he pondered if this, like the time regression, could offer a unique opportunity. While consuming the stone, Russell experienced a profound taste that intrigued him. Suddenly, red mana enveloped him from all sides, creating a fiery aura, and Russell was left astounded. Just then, a system notification window popped up, indicating that Russell had received the mana from the stone. A blazing light emanated from Russell's chest as he tightly gripped it, allowing the mana to cover his body. Despite the pain, Russell closed his eyes and concentrated, feeling the mana flowing throughout his entire being, similar to the way mana had flowed through him during the time regression. Another system notification appeared, informing Russell that his mana circle had expanded due to this infusion as one additional magic circle formed around his heart. As the consuming process reached its conclusion, Russell felt a sense of relaxation wash over him as the turmoil subsided. He contemplated his good fortune, realizing that the stone had managed to stabilize. Overjoyed, Russell felt amazing as he never saw this kind of method shaking his body. Russell felt a sense of determination that in this new life, he will definitely overcome his mana narrow veins to change his future, avoiding his fall from family, expulsion from the academy, and living a life as a third-rate mercenary member. As he recovered now, it was time to visit the professor as scheduled, and he went straight toward the professor's office. As he reached the office, he asked for permission to enter. Seated on a sofa, the professor held a cup of tea in his hand and gestured for Russell to take a seat opposite him. As Russell settled onto the sofa, the professor addressed him by name and inquired about his recent peculiar behavior in the classroom. Delicately, the professor asked if Russell was going through a challenging period, expressing concern. He also mentioned having heard rumors about Russell being targeted by classmates. Russell, who had always held a deep admiration for the professor's kindness, even in his previous life, recalled how the professor had been a steadfast presence, never giving up on him even in their shared past, and he always wanted to say Professor that there is no need him to worry. He will take care of him, thanking Professor for his efforts. The professor was taken aback, a hint of bashfulness crossing his expression, yet he pressed on with his speech, acknowledging that it was the duty of a professor to look after and care for his students. Following Russell's expression shows his happiness. However, the professor's demeanor turned serious as he asserted that Russell should be held accountable for dozing off in the classroom. To address this, he assigned Russell a task as a form of punishment, crafting an analytical report on pages 62 to 74 of the challenging, intensive elemental studies, a subject even upperclassmen found daunting. The professor's expression turned intense as he laid out the assignment. Another system window popped up following the professor's instruction, giving another mission of completing Professor Hubert's assignment. The reward of the mission will be calculated based on depending on the level of completion and Professor Hubert's level of satisfaction, giving additional rewards along with the low-grade mana stone. Russell stared at the screen in wide-eyed astonishment, surprised that even something as mundane as submitting an assignment would be framed as a mission. With a proud smile, the professor inquired if the assignment seemed challenging. Russell confidently replied with a no, feeling a sense of joy knowing that this assignment held a dual benefit for him. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow into the room through the window. Russell sat in his chair, his body stretched, basking in the soft light. He had completed the assignment, which hadn't proven challenging to him. In his previous life, he had worked hard to overcome his mana vein disability through dedicated theoretical knowledge and extensive study. Even when he became a mercenary, he didn't abandon his studies. As a result, the assignment held no difficulty for him. It was a task he was well prepared for. It looked outside the window to the academy ground to ponder the idea of overcoming his mana vein training. Russell recalled a vivid memory from his previous life. He was sprinting through a vast desert, desperately fleeing from a monstrous creature resembling a giant scorpion. He remembered how his understanding of mana veins had guided his physical training, recognizing that it played a crucial role in circulating mana. He knew that mana, absorbed through deliberate breathing exercises, collected at the heart, forming an integral part of his abilities. As the monster lifted one of its massive claws, forming a wall-like barrier, it launched a swift and slashing air blow. Narrowly evading the attack, Russell swiftly unleashed a reversal magic, fire magic of the first circle. This conjured a massive fireball in the air. However, due to his limited mana storage caused by his thin mana vein, the impact on the monster remained insignificant. With a jolt, he tumbled into a hidden cave concealed within the shattered pillar. He couldn't help but wonder if the strike had somehow favored him or if it was merely a twist of unfortunate fate. As he mustered his strength and fought to rise, he was greeted by a breathtaking sight: 2 books suspended in mid-air, radiating a magnificent blue aura that illuminated the entire chamber. Overcome by the immense mana they exuded, he claimed the book for himself. Back to the present, Russell running in the academy ground for training his physical body and broadens the mana vein. As the wizard's body may substitute his muscle tissue for the part of the mana vein, the more he strengthens his body his mana veins will be firmer. For strengthening his body, Russell started with running. In addition, he did several push-up and sit-up hanging from a tree. In his past life, the training and knowledge of the books didn't show much of an effect as he started it when he was an adult, but in his current life, it will have a significant effect as he started from an early age. Russell started his training with total determination, his body sweating heavily. As the sun descended, it cast a warm orange hue across the sky. Continue the training. Russell had to lean against the tree with heavily breathing. With a relaxing expression, Russell pondered that this will be enough for today. One more system window appeared, giving another mission to practice the ancient magic. Run for another 5 km, giving current running status as 0.5 km, giving rewards of speed of constitutional improvement upon over veins and increase it with a certain amount. Russell looked tired just the very moment thinking about resting, and this window showed up. Following this, another window materialized, indicating that he could undertake the same task daily, with the distance varying depending on how much ground he covered. This window would cease appearing once he reached a certain level of proficiency. As the multitude of windows appeared before him, Russell felt overwhelmed, his eyes shimmering with delight. He made a firm decision to accept the mission, determined to embark on the run. Russell starts his sprint, walking endlessly, looked tired, his legs shaking, his whole body aching. Unable to lay another foot, looked at the RAN status, says 3.9 kilometers. Leaning over, his hand drenched and resting on his knee, Russell admired his determination as he neared the completion of the mission. With his last reserves of energy, he pressed on, running with every ounce of strength until he finally succeeded in fulfilling the task. At last he lay on the ground with tiredness, unable to take another step. Russell glanced at the window, smiling with joy, thinking how will he walk back to his drome. In the darkness, another figure lurked, peering from a corner, a mocking grin playing across his face as he observed Russell's seemingly futile efforts. The following day, inside Professor's office, surprise flickered across his features as he read through the assignment. The depth and comprehensiveness of the report, achieved solely with academy-level study materials, left him doubtful. With raised eyebrows, the professor inquired if Russell was indeed the author of the report. Russell responded confidently, affirming his authorship and even offering a mana pledge to vouch for its authenticity. The professor gazed at Russell, his eyes sharp and discerning, ultimately trusting Russell's confident assertion as someone saying that so frankly. Nevertheless, the professor appeared highly content with the report, a smile of approval gracing his expression. The system window appeared as the mission of the assignment has been completed. With that, Russell received a low-grade mana stone in addition to a gem of the same size as the mana stone, which will increase his understanding of summoning beasts, at the same time increase in magical power with decreasing of mana consumption, reduce the casting time. Seeing all the rewards, Russell came to the conclusion as he does more tasks he will be granted more rewards, leads to becoming more stronger over time. Just as Russell was surprised by the good rewards and the professor going to congratulate them for their hard work and asked to leave the office, Russell interrupted and asked a favor of the professor. A stream of white sunlight filtered through the window, illuminating numerous shelves lined with an array of books, creating an unmistakable library ambience. Captivated by the sight, Russell expressed his interest in the faculty library. Professor raised an eyebrow in surprise, questioning the reason behind Russell's curiosity. He noted that the student library should suffice for any student's needs and emphasized that the faculty library was not intended for student use. Russell boldly asserted that he had perused every book in the library. The professor's hand struck the table firmly, disbelief evident in his expression as he leaned back slightly in his chair. Suspicion prompted the professor to consider assessing Russell's qualifications before granting approval for such an audacious request. This proposal filled Russell with elation, and he eagerly agreed, his agreement solidifying the deal. Instantly, a server window materialized, providing a comprehensive overview of all the assignments turned into missions, assigned to Russell by the professor. The next day, Russell stood beneath the sheltering branches of a tree, perspiration clinging to his skin. Lost in thought, he contemplated how a deeper grasp of magical theory could amplify the strength of his magic. Opening a bottle of water, he took a drink while considering the advantage of effectively killing two birds with one stone, gaining both a mana stone reward and professor's commendation for each assignment completed. As he standing heard someone call his full name, calling Russell a fitness freak as they don't release the real reason, a man appeared with his two fellow classmates, the man known as Anton Frederick, the elder brother of Coma Frederick. Upon hearing this, Russell thought of they might come for seeking revenge for his brother Coma. Anton raises his handing to mock him to idea that Russell thought they are there for revenge. He told Russell to stop fooling himself, and he does not care a penny of him and will walk over him in no time. Russell gazed with and took Anton's words seriously. As they walk into another clash, his solder to Russell shows superiority, telling him that he will see him in the class. As they walked by, another member asked Anton why he didn't trample him and remarked to Anton that he is seeking an audience to humiliate Russell as it wouldn't be worth it. Russell stood in silence, understanding the meaning of Anton, as he remembered in his previous life in the practice match to learn combat. It was a subject where student grades were evaluated based on their sparring matching to each other. It was a subject where Russell usually failed and humiliated by others for not able to compete. As in their previous life also faces Anton, and Anton humiliated him. He could believe how he had forgotten all those memories and decided to prepare himself this time. A notification appeared stating the achievement of the second circle and increasing understanding of the attribute he currently possesses. Russell studied hard and complete all the assignments the professor assigned to him. Russell looked happy while submitting all these, following several congratulatory notifications appeared. At night, Russell stood still in front of his desk gazing at all the mana stones he has received by completing the assignment, hastily reached for the stone he thought will be able to handle the mana load and withstand the entire process. He contemplated and then closed his eyes, trusting the effort he had put into training. He took a bite of the stone and clenched his teeth, standing steadily. Soon mana wrap his body, emitting a strong light from his body. Mana react wildly, his eyes went blank white, and his entire body starts burning. As his body tumble, he molds the mana path to his heart to store them, set down on the floor holding his heart with his hand controlling, giving direction to mana. He clenches his teeth, directing the mana, forming another circle around his heart. He realizes if his attempt fail he might die, or worst he would be able to wield any magic. With concentration and knowledge from the past, it quickly drew a magic circle and controlled his breathing. He focused the mana, making it revolve around his body, forming a small circle emitting lighting, determined to hold the power. As he absorbed the remaining mana, a beam of light passing through the window. Russell opened his eyes and released success. A new circle formed on the chest, tired from efforts. Several windows pop up as he obtains the second magic circle. The following morning, little air passed through the window. Professor admired and congratulated Russell for completing the assignments. Professor hold his hand and asked the last question. His expression becomes serious. He observed Russell. He asked the fundamental 4 structures of magic, comparing, give a name of which structure is most important. It took Russell off the guard and he need more time to contemplate it, as this question is deeper than the other one. Professor thought he might have asked a very tough question, as he himself found the answer recently. The professor suddenly stood up after briefly, though Professor asked Russell to wait as he will ask a different question. After contemplating as Russell was about to answer the question, his professor stood in astonishment, shocked from the fact that Russell knows the answer. Sunlight poured through the professor's window, casting a warm glow across the room. Russell proceeded to explain that the fundamental core of magic lay in the mental imagery one could conjure. As his words flowed, Professor Hubbard adjusted his monocle, his interest peaked. Russell elaborated that magic hinged upon the manipulation of energy, divided into 4 distinct levels. First, there was comprehension, where the laws of nature were learned, then mental imagery, where one visualized these laws, followed by construction, where formulas were devised, and lastly, manifestation, where magic materialized into reality. Intrigued, Professor Hubbard inquired why Russell thought so. Russell's eyes narrowed slightly as he continued. He elucidated that while understanding, construction, and manifestation could be honed through practice, mental imagery was different. It transcended conventional training, relying instead on the boundless depths of imagination. To illustrate, Russell raised his hand and focused on a small flame, then attempted to shape it into an arrow with closed eyes. Concentrating intently, he visualized the transformation, and the flame shifted into a level 2 magic hero. A smile spread across Russell's face, illustrating his point. Russell expounded that the flame could become anything he imagined. With an unrestrained imagination, even the creation of unprecedented marvels became conceivable. Professor Hubbard concurred, lauding Russell's articulate explanation. Russell then effortlessly transformed the arrow back into a flame, solidifying his understanding. Russell concluded that magic was akin to a shaded realm, illuminated by sunlight. Both hot and cold, magic commenced with comprehending the world's rules and culminated in reshaping them. It was the essence of altering reality. Professor Hubbard gazed directly into Russell's eyes, recognizing an extraordinary talent. Pleased, he announced that Russell's thirst for knowledge exceeded the ordinary and granted him access to the Academy Library. A notification from the system confirmed Russell's completion of a mission and rewarded him. Without hesitation, Russell made his way to the library. He understood the significance of this opportunity. Gaining access to even the library's first floor was a privilege. This library, unlike the student's regular repository, held tomes on advanced subjects like three-dimensional ballistic trajectories and intensive magic quadrants. Russell delved into a book, quickly realizing its practical value in bolstering his foundational magical theories. Suddenly, a woman in distinctive attire, Divya Snow White, approached, showing interest in the book. Magic energy seemed to surge. Startled, Russell turned and inquired about the phenomenon. Divya explained he was facing the wrong way. Russell studied her attire, a large white hat adorned with a rose, short white hair, an apple blossom, and a white dress with a red skirt, confirming her identity. Divya was taken aback by Russell's recognition. She inquired about his presence in the Academy Library. Russell explained that Professor Hubbard had granted him access, much to her amusement. She offered him a small lollipop as a friendly gesture. Russell questioned its intent, and Divya responded with a query of her own: how did a student like him secure such access? Russell paused his lollipop sucking to explain Professor Hubbard's decision. Divya acknowledged the logic and commended Russell's purity and stability. She assessed Russell as a unique case and departed, leaving him with a sparkle in his eyes. Exiting the library, Russell encountered Anthony and his friends. They probed his presence in the prestigious library, speculating he aimed to curry favor with the professors. Anton expressed his superiority and dismissed Russell's capabilities. As the magical combat class approached, students gathered in the square coliseum. The instructor explained the selection process for combat opponents. Surprisingly, the professor didn't call out Russell's name. Instead, Anthony was chosen. The classmates were baffled. Anton acknowledged the favor, hinting at a connection with the Frederick family. Anthony challenged Russell to descend to the arena, his voice demanding a confrontation.